can imagine anybody who's skeptical saying, yeah, that's exactly what the white Southerners would say.
Our peoplehood is from this land. Don't give me the Gone with the Wind like white colonialists. We're not white colonialists. We are resettlers. We are the returnees. We are the children of this land. It's part of our DNA.
You're describing the world through your own eyes.
What do you want me to do?
And what I don't hear is you wondering what it's like on the other side of that line.
My God. Like, do you see the, wait a minute.
You promised to tell me what to do about Gaza.
Wait a minute.
What you do about Gaza?
The Arab world is huge and rich and massive. What are you making them out to be, like some kind of paupers? All right, folks, Yishai Fleisher here in New York on the way to the land of Israel. Behind me, the Mazel Tov movers. Mazel Tov to Am Yisrael that we are fighting this war and finally pushing back on the bad guys and making those mullahs, maybe they're the ones that should get in that moving truck and get out of there, because they are nothing but a menace for the Iranian people and for Israel and for the region. Okay, while I was here in New York and just before the war broke out, I was at the Comedy Cellar, world-renowned comedy spot, an amazing business with great folks running it that are Jewish, that love Israel, and that have a podcast that has become renowned. And I got a chance to talk with them. We don't agree on everything, and that's good because we're Jewish, and arguing is our mating call, and that's the way to do it. We love one another, and there's a lot to discuss. So check out this clip, and before you do, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, check out the store, look at the links below for supporting and be part of it. Here is my discussion with the folks at the Comedy Cellar.
In essence, can you in a nutshell give us what distinguishes like your views from like a typical
say left-wing Tel Avivian,
or just a moderate or even a Likud member who doesn't want to annex the territories and things like that? What is your position there?
Okay, I mean, I think we have to take a few steps back before we get into exactly.
But not 3,000 years.
Not 3,000 years.
If you want, go ahead.
I mean, we don't have to go through the whole 3,000 years, but first and foremost, I'm a Zionist. I come from secular Russian Jews. They became observant later on down the line, but when I was raised in Haifa, when I was a kid, we were a secular family, but we were strongly Zionistic, and we believed that we have to defend our rights. As a Russian Jew, there's a kind of, forget religion for a second, just as a Russian Jew, there's like a toughness built in. That's like part of the belief system, that we are a peoplehood that is oftentimes persecuted, and we've got to push back, and we've got to identify ourselves as an ethnic group that has ethnic rights. And so that's first and foremost where I come from. My parents, my grandparents, great-grandparents were on tanks that liberated Auschwitz. My grandparents fought against communism, and my parents were literally refuseniks and pushed back against the Iron Curtain. Were able to break out and came in the early 70s to the U.S. and then to Israel. And they were Zionists. I am a Zionist. I was born on.
You define Zionist as believing Israel has a right to a Jewish homeland in Israel.
Yes, but I would also add to that the Zionist is also building that land, like being involved in the project. I distinguish between what you said. I call that pro-Israel.
So I'm not a Zionist.
I don't know what you are. You didn't tell me yet. I can tell you.
No, I'm not a Zionist by your definition unless I go to Israel. And
I didn't say go to Israel. I said be involved actively in the building project of the Jewish state.
So writing a check would be sufficient.
Writing a check is definitely a part of it. Buying property there, going there every summer, that type of thing, sending your kids.
Okay, but let's not get sidetracked by that. But
Zionism is a big project.
Okay, but you stand for you would like to annex the West Bank.
Hold on.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah. Well, I just want to try to.
Don't worry.
I'm trying to get to the fun part. Go ahead.
I don't know. I think your audience is very broad out there. I don't think they all understand this thing.
Okay.
My parents broke out of the Soviet Union to come to the land of Israel.
Okay, but that's a personal story.
No, it's not a personal story. It's a story of 1 million Jews that broke out of the Soviet Union and came to the land of Israel. It's not a personal story because we've been waiting for 3,000 years to rebuild our Jewish state. This is not me. I'm part of a big movement, and right now I'm part of
the movement. That's right.
And I'm part of also a movement on top of that, which is the movement to hold on to our ancestral land. Now, what happened if you don't go? See, the thing is, Noam, if you want to rush, if you want to rush through, then we'll just leave the audience not understanding what's going on. We'll leave you in the same situation they were beforehand, then maybe the situation you were in, but you don't understand really what the factors are. Or we could take a second, understand what are the issues involved, and get a little, you know,
but let the record
a little
show
depth.
my grandparents came from Russia as well. But go ahead.
Good.
Okay.
What's wrong with that? See,
No, I'm saying,
I told you it's not a personal story.
No, but
thanks for proving my point.
It's not part of my political argumentation about the.
It should be.
Okay.
In any case, I think it very much should be. In any case, probably it is, by the way, because you wouldn't care so much about Israel and do these shows over and over again.
I'm just trying to identify objective concepts, objective logic, objective arguments that you know would be written in a platform, as it were, of what it is that you believe.
Heritage and where we come from isn't part of how we form those platforms.
Fine, but make that connection. Yes, so
I shall.
Okay,
and so. 1948, does Israel win the 1948 War of Independence? Yes, it does. Mm-hmm. But it loses to Jordan, a huge tract of the lands that are considered the heartland of the Jewish people. They are the cities that people always prayed for to return. Nobody prayed for Tel Aviv. What they prayed for.
They didn't lose it to Jordan. That was not part of the partition, UN partition. Correct?
The UN partition was not a legally binding doctrine. It was done by the general body. It was also not recognized by international law. Nothing happened there. The Israelis agreed. The Arabs never did. It was nowhere. It didn't happen. The UN thing did not happen. But Jordan pushed in and fought us and divided our Jerusalem, took away our Hebron, where we lived for thousands of years, took away Bethel, took away Shiloh, took away Shechem. Okay, what's called Nablus.
Under the partition plan, Jerusalem was supposed to stay with
Jews were supposed the partition plan, which by the way is it's a fallacy. It never materialized. Well, it was a plan of the UN.
It was a fallacy, but when Israel accepted it, then it doesn't matter. That
if you have a one-sided contract, if one side accepts a contract, the other one doesn't, nothing happened there, right? It's not there's no contractual obligation. There was not
a contract.
We did not. At the end of the day, it didn't happen. That thing did not happen, and we did not. Partition. And by the way, Jordan is not the so-called Palestine that it was supposed to be partitioned to. They were not going to get that piece of land.
I'm not even arguing. I'm just trying to establish a factual basis.
Yes, I'm trying to establish a factual basis.
Was Jerusalem part of what was supposed to become the Arabic state, or was Jerusalem supposed to be
Jerusalem's supposed to be the capital of Israel, and we were supposed to have access to the holy places.
But
according to that UN partition plan, which never came to fruition.
Okay.
I'm sorry that some people who didn't study law don't understand the difference.
I did study law. I went to University of Pennsylvania Law School.
Well, so then do you not know the difference between a contract and not a contract? It was not.
It was a UN.
The UN resolution,
not a contract
of not the Security Council, just a general resolution. People believe. I believe in this idea. It didn't happen. It never happened. Jordan, a different country, pushed in, attacked. They were British armed, British led, British trained. And they attacked Israel. They killed our people. They killed our communities in Gush Etzion, where I live today.
Yeah.
They destroyed the many thousand-year-old community of Hebron. They cut away our Jerusalem. They took away our Western Wall and our Temple Mount. And 1948, we lost a huge chunk of our land to Jordan, which was not supposed to be the owner of that land. That's it.
Not supposed to be by God's standards or the UN standards?
Even by UN standards. It wasn't Jordan that was supposed to receive it. Jordan, it was supposed to be a
Palestinian state.
It was supposed to be some kind of another Palestinian
Arabic
state.
Yeah.
And don't forget, by the way, that originally under the mandate for Palestine that was given by the League of Nations to the British, that was supposed to be Jewish land. Then they cut away part of the Jewish land, made it Jordan, which was the first Palestinian state. Right. Then they pushed in to our ancestral homeland, the heartland of Israel, and took that away, destroyed our Jewish community.
It should be known more that Jordan was actually part of the original Palestine mandate.
That's right. Yeah. And today, by the way, Jordan, 75% Palestinian. There's a Jewish piece of land given to the Palestinians. You already have a Palestinian state. You already have one. It's called Jordan. Any case, in 1948, we lost all that land. We lost the heartland of the land of Israel. What people prayed for and thought about, that was the historic heartland of the Jewish people. Okay, Jerusalem. And it's environs. It's a highland. It's in the central mountain region of the country. That's where the Bible took place. That's where all of Jewish history took place. And now, at the end of the day, what are we basing Israel on? History, right? Our whole rights we claim to this land based on our history. So if the most historical element of it is taken away, well, that undermines our historical connection to the land. In any case, 1967 rolled around, In 1967, Israel liberated, not occupied, but liberated that heartland from the Jordanians. 19 years of an illegal occupation. Look it up. It was illegal. It was not recognized by any country except for England, actually. And we pushed the Jordanians back. Now, then there was a split inside of Israel. Part of the Israeli public wanted to annex and hold on to these lands and make it part of Israel, like we did in Jerusalem. What we did in Jerusalem which was liberated in 1967, we annexed it, made it part of the body politic of Israel. It became Israel. But we didn't do that in the rest of those territories, and instead left it in a quasi-status. And they thought maybe they can give it away for peace, all kinds of other ideas. But what happened was there was a group of people that I represent today called settlers. And these are people who are like, no. This is the heart of our story. This is where we're from. We have to resettle this land. And we started pushing into these places. Now, the state was ambivalent. It helped us on the one hand. It's tried to block us on the other hand. Mm-hmm. Today, there's 500,000 Israelis living in the so-called West Bank, what we call Judea and Samaria. It's not occupation, it's liberation in our mind. And we are now very successful politically. We have many more parties that represent us. Our schools, my kids study in state schools that represent our opinion. And you asked about Likudnikim. The majority of Likudnikim believe that we should annex Judea and Samaria. The majority of Israel's nationalist-leaning country, our voters lean to the right. They believe that Jews have a right in Judea and Samaria, and we are on the march towards annexation and normalization of these lands. Now, it's very important to understand that we have Israel's a tiny piece of land. It's New Jersey size compared to a humongous Arab world. An easy way to understand it is like Taiwan. I have a lot of Taiwanese visitors coming to Hebron. I tell them, what's wrong with you, Taiwan? You're a little island next to China. Why don't you just make peace? And they're always at war. There was a conflict. Why don't you just make peace with China by cutting half of your little island, give it to China, and there'll be peace. And at first they look at me blank stare like you're doing, Dan. Mm-hmm. And then they start to laugh, seeing how absurd and ridiculous it is, the idea to cut Taiwan in half and give it away to China. So to cut Israel in half and give it away to the jihadist motivated countries around us would be absurd and silly. And it's not happening, and it hasn't happened. Every time we've tried it, it has failed.
Okay, so, there's so much. You're blurring a lot of terms, going in and out of legal terms to historical arguments, and it's all quite ingenious, but it's opaque, and I don't know really how to get through it. You're practiced at this, but
well, I represent our people.
Yeah. So let's just take it step by step. So in the UN partition plan, Jerusalem was supposed to be a kind of independent international city, something like that. Is that right?
Yeah. It was.
There was a few different versions of it. Yeah, there was a few different versions of it. But the point is, any international legal scholar will tell you that the UN resolution is void.
Right. Hold on. And Jordan took that over, so I can understand the argument that you liberated Jerusalem in some way, because the intent was supposed to be a city where Arabs and Jews both have the right to pray, and that wasn't the case. And
you do know that previous to the UN, there was this thing called League of Nations, and it had a completely different outlook.
But that really is void.
That's void. Yeah, but the UN's not void. Okay.
Because
the League of Nations, in fact, Article 80 of the UN Charter says that the League of Nations decisions are not void, but are accepted.
And what was the decision in the League of Nations?
The decision is that England was given the right to help create a mandatory of 4 states. It was supposed to assist 4 states to be born. Lebanon.
League of Nations did not create an Israel.
Well, in many ways it did, because it's actually the Mandate for Palestine of number 1923, Mandate for Jewish Palestine, which gave the British the right to help secure a Jewish state in the land of Israel. The 1917 Balfour Declaration, 1920 San Remo Accords, 1923 League of Nations, Mandate for Palestine, all these documents, and there are others, all pointed to the idea of creating a Jewish state in the land of Israel, including Judea and Samaria. Duh. It's the heartland of the Jewish people.
But it's superseded by the UN.
It was not superseded. They made a decision that was illegal, but it was just a recommendation in any case.
All right, let's Obviously,
In any case, I'm not a UN guy.
No, but you can see the following. Your interpretation of the legal arguments here is may not be wrong, but it's not the majority interpretation of international law.
The UN is a defunct organization. This country would do well to stop paying money into it.
So let's talk about the practical arguments. You want to annex that territory.
Have you ever toured Hebron?
1 second.
Have you ever been there?
Have you ever been there?
Have you? Honestly, have you ever been to these territories?
I've been to the West Bank. Was I in Hebron? I don't remember.
Where did you visit the West Bank?
I drove with some Israelis, and I was with my friend Dorit's son, and we're driving. We're eating in a restaurant there, and all of a sudden he calls his father. Yeah, Dad, we're in the West Bank, or whatever city we were in, and his father's screaming, "Are you crazy? Get the hell out of there!" He's wearing a Tahal t-shirt. Anyway, and when I was younger, but before things were so tense.
You know that where I live, it's a big Anglo area.
Hold on.
You know what it is?
Sir.
The reason I'm cutting you off is because I a little bit don't want to turn the whole discussion into some kind of legalism. This is a very Jewy thing to do, like as though everything is about some kind of.
I want to ask about the practical questions. Practical questions are
practical is the life.
If you want to annex the West Bank, Judea and Samaria,
appreciate it.
What is to become of the Palestinian people?
Okay.
And by the way, do you recognize that they have some rights to that land at all, or no rights?
Good question. I'll answer that. Yeah. I think that they have, anybody living in our land should have civil rights guaranteed by the state of Israel. Civil rights, but not necessarily national rights, i.e. you can have the right to your property, you have a right to...
No, let me stop you there, because you went to law school, I went to law school, and there is an analogy here to the law. When Arabs were living there for hundreds of years, I don't know how long.
Without a state.
In that land.
But not in a state.
Not in a state, but in that land.
Right, under Turkish dominion and other dominions.
You would somehow have them have believed that this can never be your land because there's a people out there, the Jews, who have a forever claim to this land. And it's true right now, they're all over dispersed and nobody even imagines that this could ever happen. But just so you know, even 1,000 years from now, if the Jews want to come back, this is still the Jews' land because God gave it to them. Is that, I don't even mean to be flippant. Is that the argument?
First thing, it's not just God, although God is there and I don't deny it. I'm happy to talk about God if you'd like. Mm-hmm. I'll put on my rabbi hat. But in the meantime, we also have a recognition of international law of Jewish indigeneity in the land. And the Arabs, the majority of them, were economic migrants to the place. And I told you right from the get-go, I don't deny that they may have rights to their houses and right to their private land, but they don't have a right to a state. They never had a state there. Before them was a Turkish state, and before that was a Crusader state, and before that was a Muslim state.
But it's their land as much as any Jew's land.
In terms of private property, not in terms of a state.
In terms of property and morality. Well, look,
in terms of law.
We Americans, we live in, a lot of us live in land that belong to the Native Americans. And it's much more recent and it's much more unjust, but we do believe their claim has been extinguished. They're not going to come back and say, you know, this is still our land.
So you are in favor of Jews moving back and extinguishing other people's claims. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying
that's what it sounds like.
I'm saying that if 1,000 years from now, the Native Americans come and say, listen, we never agreed to give up this land. We want it back. We say, listen, you know, the world doesn't work that way. It might be very unjust what happened to you. And by the way, it wasn't.
So why don't you flip that argument and say, here, the Jews are back, and the other Arabs are like, well, we claimed that we had something here, and we're like, no.
I'm saying that the Arabs have been living there. They never had any.
How many Arabs were living there?
I don't know.
Not a lot. Not a lot. And the majority of them came when Zionism came about because of economic migration into the land. We finally got the Middle East some work.
All right. So you're going to have how many of them?
We are
millions now, right?
We are the indigenous people of the land of Israel. It's a historical right that we have, based on our history, based on our archaeology, based on our claims. There was no other state there.
Indigeneity give you a forever right till the end of time?
You know, it's a good question in theory, but in practice, we're back. Just like you said about America, we're here, we're back. And we push back against other claims. And the majority of Arabs that came in the last many years are there because of Zionism, because we actually created an economic matrix around there. We have rights to this land. We have superior rights. The world recognized those rights. They recognize our indigeneity.
The world does not recognize superior rights.
Today, things have changed.
Superior rights.
But 100 years ago, in
They never did.
Really?
There wouldn't have been a partition of.
There
wouldn't have been a UN partition if they recognized your superior right.
The partition means that they recognize at least half of that.
Half, yes.
At least.
Yeah.
And a little bit before that, before the UN, there was a different body that recognized it. And at the end of the day, you can't wait around for the goyim, for the nations, to tell you exactly what your land is. It's our land. We're fighting for it. It has been recognized by international law. The great empire of the Great Britain at once knew that, helped us recreate our land in World War I, and we're back. We're back now, and nobody's going to deny that. And there are Arabs there, and they deserve civil rights, but not necessarily national rights. I would give them residency.
What are the differences between civil rights and national rights?
National rights means it's an Arab state, and civil rights means you get the right to your house. You get the right to your house so you can have your house, live in your house.
You would give them the right to vote for members of the Knesset?
Not necessarily. I would say maybe either a broadened residency type program, or maybe a limited voting, meaning to say you can vote for, you have 5 Knesset members out of 120. So you have representation, but you're not going to steer the country towards an Arab jihadist state. It's still going to be a Jewish state. Now that may sound a little funny to you, but here in the United States, you have plenty of examples like that, like Puerto Rico, 2 million people. They don't vote for president.
Puerto Rico's a bad example.
Why is that a bad example?
Because every year or so, we allow them a referendum to decide whether they want to form their own country.
No, the way it works is that Puerto Rico is an American territory.
Right, but we've more than once recognized that if you want to go.
Let me ask you a question. Are the Puerto Ricans dangerous to the United States?
No. But
no.
First acknowledge whether my argument is
I'm not sure you're right about that, and it doesn't even matter, because the point is, in this democracy, there is an alternative system for some peoples, and so we need an alternative system. Look at, by the way, the Qataris, the Saudis, and the UAE. They all are a minority people governing over a majority that doesn't vote. Nobody says boo about that. So Israel is a partial democracy. It has certain democratic principles, but it's not a full democracy. It's a Jewish state. It's an ethnic national Jewish state for the Jewish people. It's a reservation. It's a protectorate. It's a little place for the Jewish people to survive, not to create an Arab state.
Let me ask you a very philosophical question. If you knew beyond the shadow of a doubt, either divinely or whatever way that you felt that you were convinced, that if Israel were to leave the West Bank, not another Jew would ever die at an Arab hand, would you take that deal? Or would you say, no, it doesn't matter to me. The land is more important than even peace?
No, I'll answer your question. But before I do, I want to tell you, you're talking like it's 1980, man. You're so way back. It's like, you're talking wait a minute. You asked a question, I'll give you an answer. You're talking like in a bubble that has blown up a long time ago.
You say that ship has sailed
so long ago. And it's like, why would I even answer such a question? We already know what happens when you give away the land. So why would I go into your little bubble of imagination in order to prove your point that Yishai Fleisher cares more about land than people? That's all BS.
Because I'm trying to drill down on where you're coming from.
Let's see the reality. What I said in 2005, when my wife and I went down to Gaza to protest against the Gaza giveaway, and we said that in a few years they're going to dig tunnels, send out rockets, send out incendiary balloons, and dig tunnels, and do an October 7th. We said this is what's going to happen if you give your land away to the jihad. We were perfectly correct.
Right.
Okay?
So yes,
so you want me to ask you a question? By asking a question, you are proving you're giving away the fact that you're not a Middle Easterner. Because to a Middle Easterner's ears, the idea of giving away your land for anything sounds like, here's my wife, just take her, do whatever you want, just don't hurt us. Okay?
No.
It is a weakness. It is a weakness of even discussion.
Okay.
We are not to give away our land. We're to be strong. Okay. We're to be strong in our land, and people will respect you when you're strong.
You did say you would answer it.
The answer is that it's immaterial. That question is immaterial because it's not true. That formulation is just incorrect. And what's right, mine is mine. When you hold on to what's yours, and holding on to our land will save lives. Giving away our land will kill. Because therefore, your theoretical the formula that you threw out, as a theory, it could never happen. It's right. Anti-Middle Eastern.
There's two kind of broad camps here, and I was trying to put you in one or the other. One camp is, at this point, I guess there's a third one, but they're very naive, which is, I lament that the two-state solution is dead, because who could imagine that wouldn't be a disaster or that it could ever happen. And another side is, which I think is your side, is, isn't it terrific? The two-state solution is dead.
No, that's not my side.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
No, my side is, we told you that it could never work. Stop being so gosh darn naive. Okay? You can't give away your land to the jihad. Every person on the airplane says to me, can you just explain to me why you guys try to give away your land to your enemies? It's like stupidity based on high Ashkenazi Jewish IQ. It's like, you're so smart, you think that maybe if you give away your land, you're going to get peace. It's just anti-Middle Eastern. It's just plain.
It worked with Egypt.
Egypt.
I know I'm a knucklehead, but
Egypt is a party to October 7th. It is the thing that sent all that weaponry through the tunnels, through the Rafah crossing. It is an enemy of Israel today.
Egypt or smugglers within Egypt.
No, not only that. When it was time now for all these refugees that should have gone out of Gaza immediately into the Arab state next door, which has a freaking wall.
Yeah, but
they blocked it. They put 5 different walls because they are part of the enemy.
Egypt has its
number one best-selling book in Egypt is Mein Kampf. Okay. Yes,
I doubt that's true.
It's a fact. Look it up.
Egypt.
It's not Harry Potter.
It's not the Quran.
Whatever. But the bottom, I said book. By the way, it's nice. It's nice to have a little comedy here at the Comedy Cellar.
Egypt has its own issues with Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood, and Egypt. And there's corruption. I get it, but Moses did receive the Ten Commandments at Mount Sinai, which is somewhere in the Sinai Peninsula. And
have you been there? It's a beautiful place.
I haven't been there. I've driven through there, but I never stayed there. And on the way to Egypt, and Israel did give back that land, and there has been a peace, and it has held all these years, right?
Okay, so from a person like me, from our perspective, that was the biggest mistake Israel ever did. Israel should have been bigger. I believe in a big, bold, badass Jewish state that is strong and is respected in the region because of its size, because of its economic power, and because of its spiritual power. I think that Israel should have never given away the Sinai. It went from a big, nice Jewish state, meaty.
Well, it was still small, even with this.
That's right.
Sinai,
but it was meatier. You know, the Sinai has controls of 2 sea lanes. It has gas and oil. It has places to land airplanes. It's a big gazunta place, okay? And I like a nice Jewish state, like I like a nice steak, okay? Big and chewy and strong, okay? And instead what happened, we shrank and we became a really moral, small but good state. Can you please like us? Can you like us? Look, we're giving away land for peace.
And thrived.
We have suffered. We have thrived because of other reasons. Thank Hashem, thank God. Okay, we have thrived because we've thrived, but not because we gave away our land. That was not a good move. Had we been bigger, and who, by the way, did we give away land to? A real anti-Semite, Jimmy Carter, a real hater. Proof in the pudding is the minute he finished the Sinai Accords, he went on to promote Hamas, call Israel an apartheid state, et cetera, et cetera. He's a real hater. Okay,
well, he wasn't until he spent 2 weeks with Begin in Camp David. And I'm kidding.
If you read the transcripts of Camp David, you see how incredibly forceful he was to shrink Israel, and how he had a religious problem with Israel. He had issues with Israel, and he was a hater.
You can make allowances for religious problems with people, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Fair enough. But okay. So
not like, we come from the Soviet Union. It's like not like secularism was a great panacea itself. Right. So both religion and secularism have their.
All right. So if Israel is going to keep this land, do you imagine in 50 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, an end to nonstop terrorism within the borders of Israel? And let me just add to that. And unless you guys your bunnies can keep up with their bunnies, it's likely that the Arab population begins to outstrip the Jewish population. And then you have this very ugly looking scenario of a country which could be 75% Arab and 25% Jewish, where the 75% don't have political rights. None of this seems tenable to me.
I understand. And so
does it seem tenable to you, or is Hashem going to provide?
If you've noticed in my argumentation, so far it's been pretty rational and legal. And,
I don't mean to be
military.
I'm actually.
If we were listening to people say from your mouth to God's ears, I always tell them from His mouth to our ears. If we would listen a little bit more and act the way we're supposed to act in our region, we'd be in a lot better shape. Your questions are correct and problematic, no doubt about it. Okay. First thing is just to rule out the solution of cutting away parts of the land.
Yes, we have a population in our land, but that population is dispersed also in mainland Israel, regular Israel, and other places. We had only in 22, we had a big conflagration of the Israeli Arabs in Ramle, in Lud, in Yafo, in Akko, and other places that are in Beersheba, in Arad, and a lot of places that have nothing to do with Judea and Samaria, exactly. So
interesting that it didn't spread after October 7th.
It is interesting. Yeah. It is interesting. Yeah. We have to be tough with the jihad. And if you listen to Arab commentators like Amjad Taha and other people from the UAE, they're saying all the time, you guys are weak on the jihad. We have a no jihad policy around here. You got to come down hard on this thing. You got to bring the kibosh down on this. Don't let it exist in your land. That's the most important thing. Don't let it be in the schools. Don't let it be in the mosques. Don't let it be on social media. Like come down hard on this thing. And if you don't, they're going to continue to rise up and teach their kids and brainwash their kids. Sadly, the state of Israel is way too has too many allowances for this behavior, for this miscreant behavior.
But even if the jihad, the flame of jihad were to be extinguished, which is probably likely at some point, and let's say the pendulum swung completely other direction to kind of like a Gandhi-ish, peaceful Palestinian opposition.
Any opposition to the land of Israel, any opposition to the Jewish state is jihadism. It could be peace-like, it could be secular, it could be religious. It doesn't matter. It is somebody trying to take away our land and trying to.
That's not jihadism.
Sure, it is.
Jihadism has to do with Islam.
No. Jihadism can find itself in many different. I've dealt with many secular.
You're defining all movements of self-determination as forms of jihad.
No. Because you remember Yasser Arafat always used to say jihad. He was just a secular Zionist. He was a secular jihadist, like there are secular Zionists. It comes from the same impulse. It just has let's say, a more anemic flavor to it, but that's a mixed metaphor. A more anemic color to it. We'll allow it. But let's get back to your question, which is very important. What do you do with the Arabs? Okay, so we've learned in the Middle East that you have states like Qatar, like the UAE, like Saudi Arabia, that the minority rules a big majority.
A minority of
Qataris, actual Qataris live, there's only like 25% of them, the white robe wearing Qataris, and the majority are all kinds of peoples that are workers and coming from different places. They don't have rights, but they have opportunities.
They're all Arabs.
No, absolutely not. No? Today, if you go to Qatar, you'll see that Qatar is chock full of all kinds of workers and talented people and businesses.
Citizens, or
they're not citizens at all.
Okay,
they don't get citizenship. Okay. So the citizens are about 25% of the population.
Right, but they came there voluntarily, knowing the rules. They didn't live there for hundreds of years.
Again, this business about hundreds of years
matters.
No, but it's inflated. They haven't. Majority of them have not lived there for hundreds of years. And again, they never had an Arab state there. These things are very important. They were farmers on the land. That doesn't mean that they could live under different states. They didn't have so many rights under a Turkish empire. Now they're living in the Jewish state. Remember, by the way, the Arabs have a humongous landmass to live in. Yes. Humongous. From North Africa all the way to the Persian Gulf, all the way to
T.E. Lawrence described it as a great trapezoid from North Africa to Iraq to
It's humongous. They're blessed. I always tell them, Allah loves you. He's given you all this land. He's given you 400 million children and oil coming out of the ground. Allah loves you. But this piece of land, Allah gave to us. They respect that. They respect a strong Jewish state. A strong Jewish state is a force that pushes back against jihadism, that creates welfare for this region. It's a source of blessing. No wonder many Arabs say to me, just give me a blue identity card. Just give me residency, please. That's all I want. I know you don't want me to be a citizen. You're afraid that they say this to me. They go, I know you're afraid that we'll turn into an Arab state. Fine. Give us residency. Let us live in this land. Let us thrive. Just protect us from this PA and this other Hamas. Just give us a decent life here. That's all we want from you. I hear in the Hebron Arabs, they say that a lot.
So 100 years from now.
100 years from now, it's going to look like this. First thing is, what is peace? What is peace in the mind of a right-wing Israeli so-called settler? Okay, what does peace look like? It's simple, actually. It's so simple. It's a strong Jewish state living in its land, surrounded by strong Arab states living on their land, working together for regional prosperity.
And a Palestinian majority that
doesn't have
full.
I would start working on what we're talking about for a long time, and I wrote about it in the New York Times. which is a story unto itself, but we have to help voluntary immigration of Arabs to Arab countries, except for those Arabs who want to live amongst us and respect the fact that they live in a Jewish state.
You say voluntary immigration, pay them to leave.
Voluntary immigration can mean a lot of things. It means that if you don't like a Jewish state, then you shouldn't be living here. If you like a Jewish state, then ahlan wa sahlan. Well, welcome.
What other way would be voluntary? I mean, if you make it unpleasant for them to live there, it's not really voluntary.
I'm not in the business of making it unpleasant. I'm in the business of actually being the governor of our land and giving decencies to people, subjects of our sovereignty in the land. That's the business I'm in. I'm not afraid of having Arabs in my land. I'm not afraid of it. But they have to understand clearly this small piece of land is the Jewish people's land. You could live here and have great roads and great healthcare and great upward mobility, but you're not going to take this over and create a Palestine on our land. If you say that word, that means that you're an enemy of the Jewish state, and we're going to have to fight you, and we're going to have to push you out because we're back, and this is what we're doing here, and we're not going to take no for an answer. And our war will bring peace. Okay, and if we succumb to them, then it's going to be more jihad and more kids brainwashed and more kids dying, and they'll never give up. You could be living in your Tel Aviv ghetto that's going to be this big, and they'll still fight you to destroy you. That's just the way it is.
Look, I understand there's a possibility that your prognostications may converge on my prognostications, but for completely different reasons. But yes.
What's your, I may have missed it. What's your prognostication?
Meaning that I don't see any solution to this either. And I don't see the Gazans or Hamas ever being ready to live in peace with Israel.
Correct.
Even in their own state.
Well, that's what happened, right? Let's remember what happened. In 2005, Israel walked away from this chunk of land that people like myself were like, don't do it. It's really, really dumb. If you do that, they're going to make a jihad state. But that's what happened.
But if it is going to be, ages of hundreds of years of violence, nothing's forever, hopefully, but hundreds of years of violence, I would much prefer, I think it's essential that it be state to state rather than a small minority ruling over a majority people.
Why is that? Why is that, Noam? You are actually saying things that I hear in Israel a lot.
Listen to listeners know. You talk about it. You are ready, because I've spoken to other people, I think. You're ready for Israel to go it alone. It'd be nice if America supports Israel or the West, but if we have to be...
I think quite the opposite. I think if we behave properly, we'd have a lot more support with us. There's a lot more people that want to see a strong Jewish state and would respect.
But you're going to bring about this apartheid charge, which I reject right now, but it's going to be, you're going to bring it to reality.
You're like in 1980, man. Really, I'm telling you.
We're going to talk about Pat Benatar next.
I like the 80s.
It's cool. You know what I mean? And I like Pat Benatar, but really it's like, you're talking like a previous thing, like Trump goes to the Arab countries in the region. Nobody even for a second gives a damn about apartheid, not apartheid. Arabs have no rights in their whole region.
Are you aware of the demographic trends in America and throughout the world? They're going to care.
Listen to me. People respect a strong state. People respect strong countries.
Talk about 1980. 1980, America was like 85% European. 20 years from now, or 30 years from now, America's going to be majority non-European.
Okay.
They're going to have a different view of these things than America in the 80s.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be sympathetic to the Israelis.
Oh, you think that they're going to go back to liberal American values and be like, well, if you should have majorities and minorities. No.
It's going to be much more primitive than that.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's going to be real.
Exactly. They're not going to care about these things that you talk about apartheid. What they're going to care about is who is going to be a strong state that knows how to handle the things and knows how to govern and be a sovereign and give decencies and opportunities. I promise you that even if Arabs don't have, look at the Druze, look at other people. You think that they have a decent life in Israel because they're voting? No, they have a decent life because they respect the Jewish state, and the Jewish state wants to provide for them. Look at me, I'm a right-wing guy. Okay, I want to make sure that the Arabs living amongst us live a decent life. Of course, they have to be non-jihadist, not anti-Israel.
Right. But the Druze, just for people that don't know, because I'm not sure everybody knows what the Druze community is, they're a Arab-speaking community that has decided to live in Israel, be in the army, and basically participate in the Jewish state. And I think they have full voting rights as well.
That's true, but that's not the big
All the
deal.
Arabs have full voting rights.
No, the ones in Israel. And by the way, they vote for jihadist anti-Israel parties. Like we have literally Israel haters that they vote for that are in our Knesset. These people should be arrested and certainly not serve as Knesset members and get Israeli pensions, okay? We have a big problem. We've gone too far with our democracy. It's too liberal. It's too progressive. We've given too many rights to our own haters inside our country. I mean, we have books that they study in Eastern Jerusalem that is filled with kill the Jews messaging. I turn on the Palestinian Authority TV, which I have in my house.
You speak Arabic?
You don't need to.
Oh.
I speak enough, but you don't need to. You know, you see the
tone.
It's not just the tone. You see the images. You see them burning, throwing rocks, burning Israel. They're calling for a jihad against Israel. For God's sakes, it's so simple. You have to control minorities that live in your land. You got to make sure that they don't rise up against you. It's your land. Protect it. People will respect you. Succumb to it, and you're just adding to the appetite of the jihad. It's so damn simple. We said it in 2005. We said, don't give away this land. The jihad will take it over. There's not going to be any peace. And look what happened.
Did you advocate at that time using violence against those who tried to remove the Jews from the Gaza Strip at that time? I mean, would you?
No, we did not.
And would you?
We did classic democratic protests. We were well within the rights of a democratic society. We were absolutely not calling for violence against our own army. And the fact is, we had to succumb to them and to that horrible mistake. And there's been 3 mistakes in a row: the Sinai giveaway, the Oslo Accords, the Judea and Samaria giveaway, and then the Gaza giveaway, and all this damn shrinking. And we've become a weak state. And let me ask you a question, Dan.
Okay.
Let me ask you a question. When do you think the world liked Israel better? The day after the 6-Day War, when we kicked ass and we were like big and it looked like God came back into the world? Or after the Oslo Accords, when we started shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and letting the jihad come closer to our throat, closer to it? When do you think people like us? Right now, does the world like us? We're crap in the world because of our weakness. Anti-Semitism is a product of weakness, of Jewish weakness. That's where it comes from. When the Jews are strong, people are like, well, okay. You know, you guys are strong.
All right.
You guys are strong.
None of this seems like logical arguments to me. I mean,
it's psychological, sociological, and political arguments. You live in a little like Talmudic. You're like
I
more
live my little 1980s
You're like
enclave,
you're more Talmudic than any religious Jew. You think that it's all about like making these lines, these decisions. If we come into this kind of thing, no, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You have to be strong. People will respect you. That's the rules of the Middle East. Rule your land, your small land. Give fairness and decencies to people who want to live with you. People who hate you, they're out.
All right. Well, so far, what you haven't disabused me of is that you have a recipe for never-ending violence.
Your recipes have worked real well
for my people. But
I mean, you are I understand you're a student or a disciple of the land giveaway business, right? The two-state, you lament the lack of a two-state. You think that giving away lands worked out. I'm asking you, you have a good feeling about it? It's working well, good for you?
No, I think the two-state solution is dead for now, anyway. But I think that the settler violence.
There is no settler violence. It is a absolute blood libel bull crap. Okay.
Okay. Well, fair enough. So when I read,
if it happens, it's a minority of minorities.
When I read a Haaretz story about,
why don't you read Der Stürmer? It's a little bit more up the alley here.
Actually, I understand why you say that about Haaretz, but they don't make things up. And
no,
and when the story is wrong, I see it debunked in the other papers. But there are enough incidents. Well, it was some back and forth. Now, I don't know how the fight starts. I don't know if they're covering just one side where some Arab people get beaten up and urinated on and stuff like this. And the state, as reported, that's what I have here. If it's not true, you can say kind of doesn't really enforce the law. No, it certainly doesn't handle it the way they would handle it if it was a Jewish
huge
person.
Jihad against us.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Jewish people sometimes fight back. It's true. There is violence from time to time, but it's not this phenomenon. It's not this phenomenon. That's not the issue. It's not the issue of our time. We are not the abusers. We are the victims. We have to know that.
And the decision to live and to aggravate and to provoke with your presence in these communities is not part of that story?
That was a classic blaming the victim. We're provoking them by living there. We also provoke them when we left Gaza, right? We provoke them all the time. Let me tell you something. We provoke them. We provoke them when we exist as a Jewish state in the Middle East. That provokes them.
No, this is what's provocative. You tell me this is not provocative.
No. That is, if you don't understand that, then you don't understand anything about Islam or the Arab people. If you don't understand that it is provoking them when we have a shiny Jewish state that has returned after 2,000 years, after they have a religion which says that they are that they have superseded the Jewish people, that we're supposed to be a subdued second-class people, and then suddenly we're back in our land, in our Jerusalem, and we have our thing going on in a shiny country in this region. If you don't understand that bothers them, it'll bother them until you get rid of the very last Jew as a sovereign Jewish state. If you don't understand that, then you don't understand the Middle East. You want to apologize for the jihad? You want to make it out to be because you're living in here, but if you only would leave here, then they'll be happy. When we were not in Judea and Samaria, they fought against us. 1929, before there was a Jewish state, they murdered 67 Jews in Hebron. Come on. Don't snap out of the old Hasbara lines and realize the reality.
Well, there's a difference between citing the examples where they're in the wrong, where they had no
I'm here to defend
actual beef.
I'm not here to be the prosecutor for the other side. When
Jordan attacked in 1967, that's on them. And Israel's, in my opinion, 100% in the right in that story. When settlers start moving into Arab neighborhoods and saying out loud, "We intend to take this over. This is our land. We don't. You can stay here, but you don't have rights."
We purchase land. We purchase land. The majority of
not in the occupied territories.
Oh, certainly we do in the occupied territories. We certainly buy it all the time. We buy out huge tracts of land. We buy houses in Hebron for $1 million. We buy a house from Arabs, and of course they're under the death threat to be murdered by the PA for selling land to Jews. Listen,
I don't even know. That's interesting. What are the legal rules about
in the PA? The Palestinian Authority sees as a criminal act selling land to Jews in Judea and Samaria.
But what are the international laws about it? Occupation and buying land and going to live there if the people who the world sees as owners of the land sell the land. That's an interesting thing. I never really thought that through. Why are you looking at me like this? This is a legitimate question.
No, these are not legitimate questions.
Well, somebody's got to deal with these questions.
No, these are not legitimate questions.
You may think the answer is easy.
The PA murders people for selling land. Do you understand what you're asking me? You're just Talmudicizing everything. But what about this? If I do this, then I do this. How about this?
Of all people using Talmudicize as an epithet?
Because you got to know when to snap out of it and be the sovereign. There are people being murdered for selling land to Jews. Do you understand what you're talking about? You want to clean it up through international law. They're murdering people for selling land to Jews in cities that we've lived in for thousands of years, like Hebron. For God's sakes, they're jihadists. They're thuggish jihadists. Don't you understand that? They say, why is it that Arabs come to me all the time and say to me, why do you guys allow these people to suppress us like this?
I do understand that they're thuggish jihadists. And I do not see the connection between that and the Jewish right to take over this land. I don't see that connection.
We have, I think I narrowed it down to 5 loci of rights in the land of Israel, including Judea and Samaria. We are the indigenous people of this land as recognized by international law before the newfangled international law came around. But when international law was the controlling doctrines of international law, including the San Remo Accords, all those things, we are the indigenous people of this land. That's number one. We have also fought for the land defensively, meaning to say Jordan attacked us. And under the principles of international law, when you're attacked in a war and you win land under a defensive war, you get to keep it.
Is that a principle of international law?
It certainly is. And so that's number 2. Number 3 is we've bought huge tracts of international of land. We've bought them from the Arabs. So we've got purchase rights. We've got indigenous rights. We've got war rights. And what was we certainly have, if you believe in it, we have also historical spiritual rights, but you don't have to believe that because there's other principles. But
buying the land would not translate into a right to not to take away civil rights.
I've said to you and I've maintained it very
voting rights and things like that.
Voting rights is a national right, not a civil right. A civil right is letting you live your life.
Okay, national rights.
There are many. I was a resident in America for many years before I became a naturalized citizen, but not in every country. Most countries in the world, you cannot become a naturalized citizen. You cannot, and certainly not in the Arab countries.
I think of this civil rights because when black people didn't have the right to vote, the civil rights movement gave them the right to vote. That's why I say civil.
The United States and Israel are different kinds of countries. I actually truly respect the United States. It's a beautiful thing. When I go to Washington Square Park and see all the different types of races and peoples, ethnicities hanging out together and having equal rights, there's a beauty to it. There's a beauty to it, and this is a lucky country. But the state of Israel is an ethnic national state. It's like many, many, many ethnic national states that exist around the world. If it's Poland or Ireland or a million other countries that are ethnic national, and certainly the Arab countries, it's an ethnic national state. It's a protector.
We got to wrap it up.
Can I,
yeah, go ahead. I want to find out about Gaza.
Well, also, I mean, I know. So you were talking about when in 2005, when all the Jews were cleared out of Gaza, and you didn't.
We protested
peacefully. What would happen? I know you don't love hypotheticals necessarily, but how far are you prepared to go if Israel decided now we're going to clear out where you live in Judea?
Is that Cyndi Lauper I'm hearing? Like I'm hearing like this like 80s stuff again. Yeah.
Well, I'm saying
the Jewish state is not about to clear out Judea and Samaria because of the horrifically failed experiment of Gaza. Okay, the majority of Israelis are not there anymore. They know that Palestinianism, land giveaway, is a mistake, which will bring death onto the rest of Israel. So therefore, I don't have to worry about that hypothetical. It's not happening. Moreover, just to answer your question, I've already proven the hypothetical in how we dealt with Gaza. But now it's time for
Meaning that you left.
We left. We had to accept what our state wanted to do. We did accept it. We are law-abiding lovers of Israel. We are Zionists. We love our country. We serve in its army. We paid taxes. We love our country. And if our country decides against us to its detriment, that's its problem.
So if you were the prime minister of Israel now, what would your goal in Gaza be?
First thing is I would invite you guys on a tour, show you the land. You know, one of the things about this whole discussion is that it's very, very, it's academic in a sense. Like I feel like I've sensed that you haven't really seen the land for yourself, not the Arabs, not the Jews, and
excuse me, that is categorically.
I'm talking about these two gentlemen. You have
for both of them as well.
No, I don't know. I don't think they know it well. And
I have not been to Hebron,
right? And I also sense that our discussion.
I kind of like the music.
It misses. You know what it misses? The life force, the beauty of the land. You know, I live and work with Arabs every day.
You think Arabs don't have this kind of feel about their land
That's
as
my
well,
point
and their music.
That's my point to you. You don't know what the Arabs think. And I live with Arabs every day. I speak with them every day. I see them. I see how they, what they say to me all the time. Be strong against the jihad. Give us just decencies and opportunities. That's what we really want. And the jihadists get out. They talk to me about that every single day. It's like I live with these people.
Can I just
mention? They are my mechanics.
Can
and
I just
they work in my wife's shops and stores that is filled with them.
Okay,
it's part of our life.
Can we just mention that many people who would say exactly what you just said were slaughtered after they went back to Hamas and drew maps of the apartments and the camps and provided all the intelligence that the Hamas needed to come in and slaughter the people who thought they were friends with the people who were telling them be strong against the jihad.
And that's we got to be strong against the jihad. That's exactly right.
Right, but I'm saying people who are telling you these things, they may not actually mean it.
Therefore, you have to root them out. Therefore,
would you?
But
how is Israel going to handle this Gaza thing? Are they going to?
I'll answer you.
Kick out all the Arabs. What's your plan?
I'll answer you. Yeah. I'll answer you fully just in one moment.
Okay.
And I just want to say to you like this. When I'm sitting here, which is so fun to be here, and you guys are very smart, and this is a beautiful place, and you have a beautiful business here, and I wish I could do stand-up myself here sometime. and I have a passion for stand-up, actually. Ask my kids. I love watching stand-up, and I even, for my birthday party a few years ago, I did my routine. I have a whole routine, and it's really fun to be here. But when we're talking, and this is a beautiful place, this downtown Manhattan, it's great. And when I hear you talk about all this stuff, there's something that I wish I could communicate, which is the beautiful life, which is the effervescent life of it all, the children's schools, the babies being born, the opportunities and the decencies and the rolling hills of the Bible and the Arabs that are decent, all that together. There's like a beautiful mosaic of life that doesn't come through in these discussions.
Can you play the Gone with the Wind music, please?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like
no, but I'm saying this. Like, listen, don't get me wrong. I am in some ways, I am. I can't say I'm sympathetic to you. In some ways, I understand that what you're saying is sincere on your part. But what's glaring to me,
nobody's doubting that. I am what I am.
Right, I understand it. But the reason I allude to Gone with the Wind, because I can imagine anybody who's skeptical saying, yeah, that's exactly what the white Southerners would say. I'm not comparing.
But we are the people of the land. We have a Hebron. We have a dig right now that I helped initiate. We have a dig right now. We have dug 1 foot, 1 measly foot, and we have found coins from Second Temple, from the Yanai, the Maccabean Yanai, the King Yanai. We dug down this much,
and we don't drop our coins easily. By the way,
our peoplehood is from this land. Don't give me the Gone with the Wind like white colonialists. We're not white colonialists. We are resettlers. We are the returnees. We are the children of this land. It's part of our DNA. You're describing
the world through your own eyes.
What do you want me to do?
And what I don't hear is you wondering what it's like on the other side of that line.
My God. Like do you see the? Wait a minute.
You promised to tell me what to do about Gaza.
Wait a minute.
What you do about Gaza?
The Arab world is huge and rich and massive. What are you making them out to be, like some kind of paupers?
The Arabs don't want to take in the Palestinians even if they wanted to.
Because they want to make war against Israel. They use them as pawns. Anyway, what to do with Gaza is quite simple, and that's the problem with the intellectual classes, that they refuse to keep things simple. But it's really very simple. Day one of the war. Should have been blown a hole. A hole should have been blown between Sinai, Egyptian-controlled Sinai, and Gaza. They have an Arab neighbor. All non-combatants, even if they're jihadists, should have been urged to move out into the Sinai with tents provided by the international community.
That wouldn't have led to war between Israel and Egypt?
Okay, so
I'm asking you.
And I'm
blow a hole.
How many Ukrainian refugees left Ukraine in the Russia-Ukraine war? Millions. How many refugees left Syria in the Syrian civil war? Many millions. Many of them are still displaced right now in southern Turkey. You have a flippin' war.
Right.
This help the people because there are combatants.
But Egypt doesn't want to let them in.
So threaten them and blow a hole in that thing and show some guts around here.
Okay. But it could have led to war between Egypt and Israel.
Bring it on.
Okay. That's what I'm asking.
Or do you want to kill all these Palestinians and then be allowed to be called a genocide?
I'm trying to get you to go on record about what your position is.
My position is,
I'm almost not even challenging it. I'm just trying to establish it.
I said it very clearly. Blow a hole in the thing. If it
bring it on. Okay. Now I got that.
If not, bring some boats. Send them to Cyprus. Send them to Spain. Send them to southern France.
Spain is happy to take.
That's right. Send them to Ireland. Their beloved friends in Ireland.
And then could they come back after the war?
Wait a minute.
Because the Syrians get to go back.
Wait a minute. Yeah. There's millions of them in tents right now.
But they have the right to come back.
I'll tell them that Noam says that they have the right to come back. Okay, no problem. Anyway, the bottom line is that first thing I would do is I would ensure that non-combatants leave the scene. Mm-hmm. That's number one. Leave the scene on boats. Leave the scene walking. Leave the scene to Syria. Leave the scene to Jordan. We'll make a passageway to Jordan. We'll help you survive this war. All people that stay there in Gaza are therefore deemed combatants, and we will now fight a good old clean war, make sure that no innocent civilians are hurt. They're out just like in all the other conflicts around the world. It's amazing that the world has not even given, everybody talks about this genocide, so help them out. Help them, let them do what they did in Syria and in Ukraine. Help them. No, nobody wants to do that because they want to use them as pawns. They want to use them. The world wants to use them as human shields, so that Israel doesn't do what it's supposed to do. Now, you take care of these refugees, you give them a life. Then you destroy the Hamas. Then you take sovereign control over the land. Then you let in people who want to live in the Jewish state as residents.
So you annex Gaza?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
Not an annex, full up.
Of course. It's it's a sandbox. It's a tiny piece of land. It's 400 square kilometers. It's a joke. It's a town.
Is Gaza?
It's a township in America. It's nothing.
Is Gaza considered?
I think where I'm from is bigger than Gaza.
Is Gaza considered religiously?
It's historically. You use the word religiously. And it's not
important.
Historically,
in the same way as Judea and Samaria.
Absolutely, we had times that we controlled it, and other times where Philistines and other entities controlled it. But certainly, there were many times in Jewish history that Israel controlled.
Now that's historically. What about religiously?
Religiously, it's part of Israel. That's all there is to it. It's not. It doesn't have to be confusing. It's simple. And by the way, look at the map. Just look at the map. If you look at the map, here's the coastline. Suddenly, there's like a missing chunk. Of course, it's our land. We used to swim there. It used to be a vacation place for us, Gaza. Gaza used to be a beautiful word, like Gaza beaches. Okay. So, and by the way, Trump I have a suspicion not everybody at this table likes him. I understand that, and I myself have some issues right now with him. But the bottom line is, nobody can deny that he has a good real estate sense. He knows that chunk of land could be a nice place. It could be a Riviera. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's what it really is. Its essence. But in any case, then bring back people who want to live with us under our dominion, our sovereignty, our governance in peace, and respect the Jewish state. It's very simple. Same thing with Judea and Samaria. Annex it, make it part of our land, make our little land whole. It's a very small chunk of land. It's smaller than New Jersey. Assert sovereignty over it. Give decent people a decent life and opportunity as residents, but in a Jewish state. They have a strong Jewish state with strong Arab states around us. That's called the Abraham Accords. That's a beautiful thing.
So you say, you constantly redirect me to historical arguments, and
because the Middle East is a historical place.
Yeah, and I this is actually with respect. What I'm going to say, I don't believe you. I think it's religious.
I don't deny. I'm a rabbi.
Yeah.
I don't deny that I have a religious element, but I can frame that in legal or religious or historical arguments because they all converge.
Right. So you're trying to make the kind of secular arguments in a way, in a way that I don't find convincing.
And what do you find convincing? Give away the land to the jihad?
No, no. That's why I said the realities can converge. I find what I do find convincing is the practical reality that right now, at least, jihad is at an all-time high, and concessions are suicidal. I believe that. Israel cannot.
I'm feeling very good about that last statement.
Yeah, Israel cannot take chances with concessions to an organization, and not just an organization, but people through polling, through data, we know means them such grave harm. It's a kind of glib way to put it. So I get that. Are they to use that opportunistically for annexation, to expand into the West Bank? No, you lose me there. Although I do think that reoccupation of Gaza may be the only thing Israel can do. And I know that's supposed to be a terrible thing to say, but I don't say that because I want to see Israel deal with that mess. I say it because when I listen to the practical arguments, that seems the only one I can understand. The idea of an Arab peacekeeping force killing Gazan terrorists in an insurgency, I can't imagine the notion that Arab peacekeepers will start killing people on behalf of Israel. That would just be taking a match to the entire Middle East. It's untenable. I don't know what they can do. They're not going to leave. They're not going to throw them out. I don't know. It's very sad times, right? It's very sad times, but
it's what's sad for me to hear is that you think it's sad times. We have challenging times, but we are living in the best time of Jewish history in 2,000 years.
No, we were October 6, 2023.
Where we diverge is a philosophical, or I would call it more posture. My posture is of a sovereign. Mm-hmm. My posture is not of I don't take this, don't take this, in a hard way, of Jews who have not yet accepted that we are now a strong Jewish country. And I would call that, this is for the sake of your listeners, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I would call that ghetto Jews who just don't understand that being a sovereign means governing other peoples. And that's okay. Every power. How many nations are there in the world, by the way? Sociologists say that there are 3,000 nations. 3,000 ethnicities. Mm-hmm. How many countries are there? About 193, meaning that there are many countries that govern all kinds of nationalities within them. I say, as a Middle Easterner, as a almost Arab, I say, I have no problem governing Arabs. I got no problem with that. I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid to give them welfare. I'm not afraid to give them medicine. I'm not afraid of making sure that their schools are okay. I have no problem governing. I have no problem governing other peoples in my land. And a bigger Israel is safer for more people, more decencies, less jihad in the region.
I have another question along these lines, just like in this fantastical outcome here.
And Noam, we are living in great times.
You would allow
70 years ago we were in Auschwitz.
You would allow 80 years ago. You would allow a Jewish law. 80 years since the
Liberation. Fair enough.
You would allow Jewish law, like businesses have to be closed on the Sabbath, kosher, like what?
Not mandated. I think that we have a Jewish character of the state. I think that as little as possible to force religious laws as possible. There are certain things that are part of the character of the Jewish state, like the Shabbat, and makes it that we're all in an even playing field. Like the army should be kosher so that everybody could eat there. There are certain things, but as little as possible.
Does private businesses have to shut down on Shabbat?
I believe that as much as possible, it should be by choice, and people should yearn to do that because it's a beautiful thing to have Shabbat.
The buses can run on Shabbat?
If it's not state-run buses, if it's private buses, certainly.
Private bus company.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to mandate religion. I don't believe in that. I don't think that's a successful model. I want people to come to it. I want people to love it. And I think the state should also teach basic Judaism and basic Bible and the love of these things. I think it should teach it in schools.
Not to its majority Arab citizens.
First thing, they should also learn why we believe what we believe. But they certainly should not be teaching the jihad in those schools.
But this is why it's untenable. So you're going to have a minority population teaching the Torah to a bunch of Arabs.
Can't learn the Quran. First thing is, who says they can't learn the Quran?
In the same school system,
you can learn the Quran, but as long as it's not the jihadist interpretation of it. Listen, the majority. You've asked me only one question that I've a little bit evaded, and that is the issue of a huge amount of Arabs in our land. I don't believe that's a good idea. I think you're right. I think we should go for voluntary immigration. I think we should help people leave to go to their countries. And I think that the people that get to stay are the lucky ones that want to live amongst the Jewish people. I don't think that we should walk away from them. I don't think we should succumb to them and surrender from them. I think we should hold on strong. If you're an Arab minority that wants to live, then you should get residency and you should live in our land. But I agree with you that we shouldn't have them now taking over the whole tiny protectorate, right? Like just like we don't want, white Americans to start living in the reservations because they want a special place for them. So the same thing, we have to protect our small ethnic national Jewish state.
All right, sir. Well, I hope you got a fair hearing here.
Well, you got to remember that this hearing that we're having here is an intellectual conversation, but I go back home and actually live it. I carry guns. I have children. I have a wife. I send them to schools. I drive on the roads. I shop with Arabs. This is not academics, okay? For me, this is the life, and I love it. I'm passionate about it. I think we're living in an amazing time with challenges, and I think that the operative word is responsibility. We have to take responsibility for the land. We have to take responsibility to govern it properly. We cannot allow criminality to take over the land. We have to love it. This is a great moment. If we would leave it the way you would leave it, it's just like exasperation. No, sir. We're living in a great moment in time, and now we have to take steps to strengthen the Jewish state. It's up to us. We're the generation that's got to be responsible right now. We can't just like take it for granted. We've been waiting a long time for this thing.
By the way, in your heart of hearts, how do you struggle with the knowledge that so many, whatever the number is, let's say it's inflated by 20%, 30%, whatever it is, that so many Palestinian children are dying here. Does that weigh heavily on you? Do you say that's on them? Do you spend time thinking about that?
I mean, I think it's a. Let me spread the blame out evenly. Mm-hmm. No doubt Hamas wants to see children dead. No doubt about it. That's part of their strategy. No doubt the international community has done bubkis to help the refugees get out. And no doubt that Israel is complicit in that they haven't done more to make sure these refugees, the would-be refugees, and would get out of the harm's way. So the numbers are inflated, no doubt, and all that. But yeah, I think that Israel has done a very poor job at being more forceful and helping these refugees get out. I have a lot of criticism about the way that Israel's handling things. It's part of it, but the criticism is you're being too weak and too flippant, and you're letting a lot. When you fight a weak war, actually more people end up dying. Mm-hmm. Okay, if you fought it properly, a lot more people would be safe in the long run.
Yeah, other people have said that. It's probably true. Probably true.
I'm telling you, we're living in great times, and we're going to have to overcome it. There's a lot of mistakes that have been made, but right now it's a great time in Jewish history with challenges. And I'm excited about the future. I'm excited about it. And I tell you that my children are excited about it. My neighbors are excited about it. I have a lot of Americans, former U.S. residents, still citizens living amongst in my town, where I'm also, by the way, a councilman of a 14,000 people town.
What about the ultra-Orthodox who don't want to serve in the army? You oppose them?
I think that there could be a better system in place. It's very simple, actually. My system, my solution is that everybody has to do 2 years of national service of any kind. And I'm talking about boys, girls, Arabs, Jews, ultra-Orthodox, secular, I don't care what. We equalize it. The problem with Israel, it's kind of a Jewish state and everybody's got a different deal. I don't like that. I wish everything was just equalized across the board. Everybody's got to serve. If you don't want to serve in the army, okay. But then you have to be a firefighter or a police officer or something. Just national service for everybody, Arabs as well. Nobody has super citizenship, okay? And if you don't do that, then you lose your right to vote or you lose your whatever.
They don't have the right to vote.
No, the Israeli Arabs certainly do. But,
you don't want to.
I would not give them the right to vote. I would give them residency, but I would still demand of them. But even residency
but there is a contradiction there.
There is a contradiction, but it is well within the established norms of the Middle East.
The contradiction for the listeners is that if you're saying it's all one piece of land, then why do some of the Arabs get the right to vote?
I'm against that. I would give everybody the same thing.
You're going to take away the Arab-Israeli right?
Well, I would I would give residency to their children. I wouldn't take it away because that might be hurtful. But from a child born starting today is from now on a citizen.
So
but with
this is crazy talk. I'm sorry.
It's just because you don't know comparative democracy. There's many countries that have
disenfranchise.
Not everything's America. Not everything's America. We don't have one voting right in the whole Middle East. Not to mention decent rights. Okay, we have one tiny country that protects us.
Yeah, wouldn't it be great if Israel could imitate?
We didn't come out of Auschwitz. We didn't come out of Auschwitz to give the Arabs the vote. Okay, we didn't come here to create an Arab country, for God's sakes. We came here to create a Jewish state, and we want to give decencies and opportunities to decent people. That's all there is. It's so simple. It's so simple. Nobody.
This is the thing. It's not simple. These problems are maybe intractable. And
as long as you don't put yourself in your own straitjacket of Western white colonialist ideas and get into understanding that we're a Middle East country that has to operate by the
notion that Israel is going to disenfranchise its own Arab citizens or their children.
Not totally disenfranchised. I say give them some kind. I said to you before. I gave you options. There are many countries in this world.
Take away the right to vote.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'm saying not totally disenfranchised. Give them some kind of voice, some kind of
just enough right to vote, but so they can't have any impact.
But not to drive our country to become an Arab country, which is listen, look what's happening in the world today. You have the jihad using liberal countries and the systems of liberalism to undermine them. That's what's happening all over the world. It's happening in America today. And Jews are under threat here now. There's been 2 terrorist incidents in the last few weeks here, serious ones.
I'll leave you with my theory of world history.
Okay.
And I told this history, I said it on the podcast before, but I've said this too. I thought it was stupid. And then I said it to some important thinkers, and they looked kindly on it. And my theory, it's called the difficult child theory of world history. And this is how I put it. You know, when you see a kid is very, very badly behaved, and his parents are very liberal, and they let him get it. And they say, look at those parents. They let him get away with this. They never punish him. Of course, their kid is acting out. And you see another kid is acting out, and his parents are really hard on him. They don't give him a second to breathe. And you say, look at this poor kid. His parents never fucking give him a break. They're on top of him all the time. Of course he's acting out. But the reality is, neither is true. It's just this fucking kid is difficult. And this is how and this is where I have difficulty with what you're saying, because I think that we are dealing with the difficult child, which is the jihadists. And whether you say it's the liberal way we should treat them or the right-wing way to treat them or somewhere in between, or that the liberal things caused it or the right-wing things caused it or the reason about, no, I actually think none of that is causative. I think you're right. The problem is them. And just like the difficult child, there really is no way to, the family's going to be miserable no matter which tact they take. And
it's a nice theory. I like it. And it's fun. The only thing is I would say is I wouldn't want you I wouldn't want to be exactly sign on to that for one reason, which is the one thing that you're missing in the way you kind of described what I said is, forget the jihad for a second. It's our land. It's our beloved land. It's our spouse. It's where we're from. It's where our history is from. It's where our God is. You want me to be more religious? I'll do it for you. Okay. It's where our peoplehood got prophecy. It's where Abraham and Sarah, Isaac, Rebecca, Jacob, and Leah and Rachel.
It's where Jesus Oh, I'm sorry.
But one of our boys made it. You know that was right.
Either tack is not going to work. And
I'm just trying to say that I don't want you to just. I don't want. This is not about negativity. We're bad. We're not like in Hebron because we want to fight the jihad. We're in Hebron because the tomb of our forefathers and mothers are there. We're there because we've been there for the last 3,500 years. Like, we love this land. We love it, and we're going to love it, and we're going to be victorious in the end because we are tenacious, and sometimes being stiff-necked is a compliment.
I'm coming away from this conversation even more pessimistic than I was.
That was not the intent here.
I know, but your people, you people are growing in numbers.
That's right. By the way, I didn't want to say this. I didn't want to pull rank, but we're the majority. And we're going to be the majority. We're going to outkid the other folks, and our ideology is more solid. It makes more sense. It's more holistic. It's more sensical. It's more clear. It's more Middle Eastern. It's more organic. Like this pieces, a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and cut out this and give them that and this and that and separate it out. Well, it doesn't work.
It's Sharia-ish.
Whatever. I don't accept that, and I find that to be just ad hominem and useless. I think that at the end we have
Sharia adjacent. No, I don't mean to be ad hominem. I'm saying that it's Sharia-ish in a sense.
What's Sharia-ish? I gave you. I don't even want to answer.
What Sharia-ish is that there's a certain moral structure that you believe in.
Yeah, I believe it's our land. Yeah.
That is divine. Well, law and land and all of it, and that is what
it is. Sharia divine, is and it is also accurate in other ways. This may sound a little obtuse or weird, but if we analyze what's happening in this room right now, we can analyze it in many different ways: molecularly, sound-wise, light-wise, sociologically wise. We can analyze it in a million different ways, linguistic-wise. There's a million things, but they're all true. They're all true because there's just many ways of understanding reality. You're right. I'm a religious person. I love the Bible. I love the book of Genesis. And I think we should all study it and we should be part of it. You're right. And it touches me that Abraham bought a tract of land in Hebron. You're right. But the other things are not untrue. It's not that I'm hiding it. I'm just arguing also in law and in war and in Middle Eastern psychology. And they all align, in my mind, for my policy position. Okay, you're right. Religious is as an aspect of it, and it's true. But the other things are also true. It is true that you dig down 1 foot and you find our history in this land. It is true.
Yeah, but...
And it is also true that Middle Eastern-wise, to give away our land is to embolden the jihad. Those are also truths. Yeah. Okay, but I want to come from a place of love.
But you also don't want to acknowledge that the counterfactual of not having made peace with Egypt since the 77 or whenever it was may not have been all... fantastic. May not have been all peaceful. May not have been rosy.
It's hard to know. It's hard to know because we don't have a way to prove it. But
you would prefer that Israel be enemies with every Arab country right now?
Not quite the opposite. I think the Arabs
rather than have ever parted with what's the biblical acre? Not a cubit,
dunham.
A dunham.
I don't know.
Whatever.
No, that's just the way we say it in Israel. But yeah, the Sinai was a mistake in my mind, but it's hard to prove the other way. It's hard to prove it. The fact is that we have a very cold peace with Egypt, and in the end of the day, they are the big suppliers of Gaza, and they have stopped the refugees from coming in. So, listen, it's a tough question. I can understand your position. I've heard it many times. I think it was a mistake. I think a bit bigger Israel is a better thing for the Middle East. And I think it'll be better for the Arabs, a big Israel. But
great snorkeling.
Huh?
Great
snorkeling. Absolutely. The Blue Hole.
Sharm el-Sheikh.
Sharm el-Sheikh.
Okay. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you for having me. Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Very good.
There you go. All right, folks. Yishai Fleisher here in New York, moving back to the land of Israel, B'ezrat Hashem, soon. The war is warring, but the Jewish people are winning, and that's because it's a biblical promise, because God has given us strength to our army, because the book of Esther is eternal, and it's happening again right now, and we're beating back the Hamans, or the Hamandinajads, or the Hamanei. We got to beat those guys back, and the good folks of Iran, the millions of good folks of Iran, will be liberated by Liberation Nation, with the help of He who made creation. And I'm in the mood to rhyme, and it doesn't happen on a dime. But the point is that we're trying to fight here for the Jewish people, for Jewish rights, and for a strong Israel, and for a stronger region. God bless you folks wherever you are. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, Check out the store. Support us in the links below, including fightforisrael.org and buymeacoffee.com/Yishai. Lots of love and lots of blessings from New York on the way to the land of blessings. Mazel tov and shalom.